Our mission here at Deity is to make the best contact point products for mountain bikes, period. Every part that connects your body to your bike, that's our area of expertise and where we are focused on creating functional solutions. If you've ever had hot spots on your hands or pain or numbness or arm pump, any of these things, they can all be traced back to the grips on your bike. So today I'm gonna break down the 4 grips in the Deity product line, why they were designed the way they were, and how each one can help solve specific problems and help you improve your comfort and control while you're riding. So with that said, let's dive into the Deity grip line. Before I get started, I first want to introduce you to the 4 models in the lineup and their names so that you're familiar with them as I'm talking. The first one is the Knuckle Duster, which is probably our most famous grip and is super well known for its amazing blend of comfort, grip, and just rider feel. And it's super recognizable by this V-channel mushroom ribbing on the top part of the grip, and then this recessed half waffle that you see on the bottom side of the grip for your fingers to kind of sink into. The second grip in the lineup is the Super Cush grip, which is our largest grip, and it has this oversized diamond pattern that provides a ton of cushioning for your hand. And the third grip that we have is the Lockjaw, which is a cool hybrid of those first 2 grips. It takes that recessed half waffle from the Knuckle Duster grip, but then it takes that oversized diamond pattern from the Super Cush, which just adds a nice layer of comfort on the top with that half waffle for your fingers to sink into. And finally, we've got the Slim Fit grip, which can be thought of as the little brother of the Super Cush grip. It's got a micro diamond pattern instead of that oversized diamond. And it's also the thinnest grip in the Deity product line. So now that you're familiar with the different models, I first want to talk about all the things that every Deity grip has in common, and then we'll dive into the things that differentiate each one of the grips. The most important thing to know about Deity grips is our design intentions behind each one of these, and the rider experience is ultimately our top priority, so functionality is paramount, which is why we don't put big raised logos in the middle of our grips for branding purposes if it's going to make your grips feel like shit, and it's also why we eliminate any harsh edges or bulges in our grips that might give you hot spots or pain points while you're riding. And we even go so far as to have directional clamp hardware, so both of the bolts on both of your grips are facing forward so that your thumbs aren't rubbing on those bolts. It's little details that make a surprisingly huge difference. On top of that, all Deity grips have a tapered inner core in them, so when you slide them onto the bar, they actually really grip onto that outer portion of the bar, and then when you tighten down that lock ring, they're super secure on both ends of the grip. Surprisingly, there's a ton of grips out there that don't have this, and they actually rattle around and twist on your bar a little bit as you're riding, and it's a pretty unsettling feeling. We also offer aftermarket anodized grip clamp rings in an array of colors, 6 different options for you to choose from. So you can take any color Deity grip and change the color of the lock ring and get any color combination you're looking for, whether that's bold and bright or classy and subdued. You can make your grips look exactly how you want to match up with your bike and complete your kit. Beyond those details, every Deity grip is completely unique and designed so that we have a wide range of sizes and patterns available for every rider preference. Like I said earlier, the Slim Fit grip is our thinnest grip at 30.5 millimeters in diameter. The next size up from the Slim Fit is shared between our Lockjaw and our Knuckle Duster grips, which both come in at a 32 millimeter diameter. Surprisingly, that extra 1.5 millimeters is pretty noticeable in the palm of your hands. It's also kind of the sweet spot for a lot of riders, which is why we've got 2 grips in this same diameter. But with that said, a lot of riders prefer a smaller or even a larger grip, which is why we've got our Super Cush grip, which is not only our largest grip in the range at 34 millimeters in diameter, but it's also the most cushioned and comfy grip we've got. These are not only great for riders with larger hands, but it's also good for people who have experienced hand or wrist pain or just like more comfort while they're riding. Now, typically people kind of assume that if you have larger hands, you're gonna prefer a larger grip, and if you have smaller hands, you're really gonna be better off with a smaller grip, but that's definitely not always the case. I'm a great example. I am 5'7" on a good day, 5'8" if a girl's asking, and I have pretty small hands, and I actually really prefer our Super Cush grip, especially on longer rides, because I've had some wrist issues in the past, and it just kind of takes that edge off on those longer rides. So it really just depends on personal preference. So I would encourage you, the best thing you can do is get down to your local bike shop that sells Deity grips and just put your hands on a bunch of different grips and see what feels good to you. It would be super easy to assume that all grips are made out of the same rubber compound, but that's definitely not the case, and it's something you should pay close attention to if you're shopping for grips. Now, our grips use 2 different proprietary rubber blends depending on the model. The first material we use is what we call our TRC Plus blend, and that stands for Tactical Rubber Compound. This is a Kevlar infused rubber blend that we use on the SlimFit, SuperCush, and Lockjaw models. And it's a super tacky compound that gives the diamond pattern on those grips tons of grip so that you feel like you're really connected to the grips. But the Kevlar infusion really helps improve the durability so that these grips will hold up to tons of riding. Now, the Knuckle Duster grip uses a slightly different blend that we call our TRC compound. This is also Kevlar infused, but it's a little bit firmer durometer. The reason for that is that we want these mushroom ribs to have a bit more support, and we don't want them collapsing under your hand as you're riding. Now, this is one of the areas where the functionality in our grip design could be overlooked by a lot of people at first glance. There are tons of grips out there with a mushroom ribbing design like this, but typically they're a thinner and taller rib structure that tends to collapse under your hand. Now, that kind of leads to a mushy feel that is kind of vague on the trail. It almost feels like you don't have enough air in your tires. With the Knuckle Duster grip, we use shorter and wider ribs that still provide cushioning, but have the strength to support the forces being pushed down through them. The chevron V-channel ribs on the outer portion of the grip are actually a functional design element. They're not just there to look cool. Because of the angle of those ribs, they actually support your hand a bit better where you're putting the bulk of your weight down through the grip. And on the inner portion of the grip, those linear ribs are designed so that they provide a bit more cushioning on that inner portion of your hand. Probably the thing that most riders look at first and foremost when looking at grips is the design or the pattern of the grip. And since we're already talking about these mushroom ribs on the Knuckle Duster, we might as well dive into all the design details on every single grip. Those mushroom ribs on the Knuckle Duster are definitely one of the key features that people really notice and recognize and gravitate towards. But there's definitely a lot more to this grip than just that. And like I mentioned earlier, all D80 grips, we really focus on smooth, seamless transitions on all the surfaces from the innermost portion of the grip all the way out to the outside edge. So if you move your hands around, whether you like to grab on the inside of your grip or you like to stretch out on climbs and move your hand to the outside of your grip, you're not going to feel any harsh edges or ridges digging into your hand or giving you those hot spots. And like I mentioned earlier, we have directional clamp hardware, so both of your grips, the bolts are going to be facing forward so your thumb's not rubbing on that bolt head. The half waffle on the underside of the Knuckle Duster is something special too. It may look like, at first glance, something that's been done on several other grips before, but what we've actually done is taken that half waffle design and recessed it into the grip rather than having raised ridges that dig into your finger. It's a small detail, but when you grab these grips, you're really gonna feel your fingertips fall into these beautiful little pockets rather than having these harsh ridges digging into your fingers and giving you hot spots. Again, it's a subtle detail, but it's all about functionality. The Lockjaw grip shares that same recessed half waffle design as the Knuckle Duster and also is that 32mm diameter, but the similarities pretty much end there. The top of the Lockjaw has a completely different oversized diamond pattern and again uses that TRC Plus rubber blend that I talked about earlier that's a little bit more tacky and gives a little bit more cushion feel. As you move to the underside of the Lockjaw, there's a super plush thumb pad on the inner portion that lets your thumb sink into that super tacky rubber. Again, really smooth surface transitions across the entire grip so that you don't have any harsh edges digging into your fingers as you move around on the grip. Like I said, functionality is in our pedigree and making sure you don't develop hot spots while you're riding is critical to all of our grip designs. A SlimFit grip is completely different than those first two grips. Not only does it feel slimmer in your hand, hence the name, but it also forgoes that half waffle design and goes to a full wrap micro diamond pattern. Because there's less rubber material, we see a lot of racers leaning towards this style of grip because it gives you a more precise trail feel. It's kind of like driving a Ferrari and really being able to feel the road beneath you. It does still give you a surprising amount of cushioning for being a thin grip, but I think this grip really gives you the most connected, tactile feel out of all the D80 grips. It's also a great option for kids or riders with smaller hands that struggle to wrap their fingers around larger grips. And last but not least, the SuperCush grip is like that SlimFit grip, but on steroids. Again, these come in at a whopping 34mm diameter, and they've got that oversized diamond pattern like we saw on the top of the Lockjaw grip, but fully wrapped around the grip. These taller diamonds provide massive amounts of cushioning. I definitely say this is the most comfortable grip in the Deity lineup, hands down. And like I said earlier, they work great for riders with larger hands, but they also work really well for riders who are just looking for additional comfort and cushioning on their hands and wrists. Admittedly, I'm getting pretty old, and my wrists and hands love these grips. So hopefully I've given you a good idea of how these grips might feel and which one might be right for you depending on the way you ride or what you're looking for in a grip. But if you still aren't 100% sure, I would highly recommend you go down to your local Deity stocking bike shop and feel them for yourself. There's no replacement for getting your mitts on these grips, so go check them out and see what you think. So with that said, thanks for dropping in. Hopefully this has helped. See you at the next one. Peace!